Hi guys, this is the Casual Fan. Now, Felipe Massa has gone ahead with legal proceedings against the F1 and the FIA for what happened in 2008. Now, for the uninitiated, let me give you a brief walk down the memory lane of what happened in 2008 and why 15 years later, Felipe Massa is looking to take legal action against a championship that was won by Lewis Hamilton. So first of all, let's begin with that, and then we'll come to the main agenda of this video and why I felt I needed to make this video first before probably a few others that I have in the pipeline already. So let's begin with what happened in 2008 and how it all ties up with 2023. So first of all, in 2008, the World Championship battle was fought between Lewis Hamilton and Felipe Massa. At the end of the championship, in the last race of the season, on the last lap, Lewis Hamilton won the championship from Felipe Massa by 1 point. Everything was fine at that point in time. It was a very intense championship. It was a photo finish because Lewis won the race on the very last lap, on the last corner as well. There were quite a few impressive drives from both Lewis as well as Felipe. However, as the time has passed, the season has been shrouded with controversy. The first major controversy came almost a year after the 2008 F1 Championship was done, and it was around the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix, because as it was revealed at that point in time, Renault team principal Flavio Briatore had ordered his driver Nelson Piquet to crash at a particular moment in the race. Ultimately that was done to manipulate the final result, and it was in essence a race fixing moment where you try to induce certain premeditated actions to have a certain desired result. Well, Renault had the desired result, as Renault driver Fernando Alonso did end up winning that race. Now, once the scandal broke in 2009, ultimately action was taken against Renault as well as Briatore and his deputy Pat Simmons. However, it was also found out that if the Singapore Grand Prix, the race that was essentially a fixed race whose outcome was fixed by Briatore and Renault, ultimately if that race was excluded from the championship, Felipe Massa would be the world champion, not Lewis Hamilton. However, since the 2008 award ceremony had already been conducted, the championship standings would not change, because the regulations at that time dictated that once the award giving ceremony for that particular year was done, the results were sealed at that very moment. So because of that, Felipe Massa could not really appeal, and the team and even Ferrari had to withdraw whatever actions it was thinking of going ahead with. However, 15 years later in 2023, there has been a major revelation, and the major revelation is from Bernie Ecclestone, the Formula One supremo at the time, the man that basically led Formula One, the role that currently is being held by Stefano Domenicali. So, according to an interview with F1 Insider, Bernie Ecclestone revealed that him, Max Mosley, the FIA president, as well as the race director at the time, Charlie Whiting, they knew that something like this had happened at Singapore, and they knew it before the 2008 award ceremony. Yet they did not go ahead and do anything, because the sport was still reeling from what had happened in 2007. If you don't know, in 2007 there was a massive Spygate scandal that had ultimately led to McLaren getting penalized $100 million. So at that point in time, the sport was not in a great health, and it was at this stage that Bernie, Max, as well as Charlie arguably decided not to go ahead and take any action. Now, in this interview, Bernie also revealed that, in essence, Felipe Massa was the rightful winner of the 2008 F1 World Championship, because the Singapore Grand Prix should have not been included in the 2008 F1 Championship. Now, ever since that has been released, Felipe Massa has gone ahead, and he first of all revealed to Reuters that he will go ahead with some legal action because of what happened in 2008, in his view, was not fair. The recent update where he has issued the notice to both the FIA and the FOM is basically the next step in the legal proceedings. Now, since we are all caught up with what has happened and why Felipe Massa has gone ahead with this legal proceedings, now let's come to the agenda of the video. Now, the reason why I'm doing something like this is because at the end of the day, what I've seen quite often is, and what I'm noticing even right now, is that there are a few drivers that never get their time in the day, and Felipe Massa is one of them. Even right now, there are a few F1 pundits that have, as soon as the report came out yesterday, they were quick to remark that maybe Massa was trying to make a quick buck or a huge payoff out of the whole legal proceedings. And there have been fans, plenty of Lewis Hamilton fans, that have basically discredited the kind of season that Felipe Massa had in 2008. Many have even claimed that he did not deserve to win the 2008 F1 World Championship. In this video, what my main purpose is trying to share the point of view of Felipe Massa, a point of view that unfortunately not many F1 websites will even bother to go deep into. But I think it's essential that when something like this has happened, when a driver who was so loved by almost everyone and who has taken this action, I think it's about time we give him the space to actually express what had happened and why he feels so strongly that he's even willing to go down the legal path. And that is what I'm trying to do in this video. This video is entirely about sharing Felipe Massa's point of view on why a driver and someone who is a very mild-mannered character, someone like him, is willing to go down the legal path against a championship that was won by Lewis Hamilton. To do something like that, I will try to cover a few basic areas, and let's see if by the end of the video I've done justice to what Felipe Massa is trying to achieve with these legal proceedings. Now, first of all, before we even go ahead with the entire discussion, I think there's one key elephant in the room that we need to discuss first. In 2008, was it Lewis Hamilton or Felipe Massa who deserved to win the world title? Well, if you ask me, I think it was both. The entire season was filled with races where both Lewis Hamilton and Felipe Massa produced some exceptional drives. There were multiple races where Lewis Hamilton was untouchable. Similarly, there were quite a few races where Felipe Massa was splendid and not many could get close to him. On the other hand, there were a few races where Lewis Hamilton had a below par performance. Similarly, similar thing happened with Felipe Massa as well. At the end of it all, if the question is who deserved the title more, then that is an entirely different debate, and for that we can set the parameters and try to find out that as well. But this is not what we are trying to discuss here. What we are trying to discuss and trying to find out is, did Lewis Hamilton or Felipe Massa deserve to win the title? The answer is yes. Both of them deserved to win the title, and either one of them who scored the more points should be the rightful winner. In 2008, Lewis scored more points, and yes, he won the title and he deserved it. If Felipe Massa had scored more points, he would have won the title and he would have rightly deserved it. Now coming to the second and arguably the more important point. Why is Felipe Massa going ahead with legal action? Now there are two arguments that could be made on why Felipe has gone ahead with legal action. The first argument is money. That is something that even Glenn Freeman, a reputed F1 journalist, has made on Twitter as soon as this thing came out. Glenn pretty much claimed that the only reason why Felipe Massa has gone ahead with legal action is because he's looking for a giant payoff. That could be true. At the end of the day, something like this, when it happens, both F1 and FIA will be trying to get an out-of-court settlement, because if it goes into the court, it becomes a bit unpredictable, and that is something that, well, any organization will try to avoid at this stage. However, and I feel many a times many journalists are guilty of something like this, and that is a failure to understand the psyche of a world champion and a psyche of a driver or someone who is basically a victim in all of this. We tend to not even try to put ourselves in those shoes and try to think on monetary lines. Now let's talk about the prestige part, and now let's talk about why, if we are keeping the money part aside, why Felipe Massa has gone ahead with legal action. Now, to understand this, first of all, need to understand the origins of Felipe Massa, a Brazilian driver who basically idolized Ayrton Senna and wanted to emulate him and wanted to be a world champion in his own right. Now, that young child made sacrifices, came to Europe, left his family behind, and pursued a career in Formula 1. By 2002, he was a Formula 1 driver. By 2006, he was driving for Ferrari. However, there was a massive caveat. Felipe Massa was going to drive for Ferrari, but he was not the team leader. He was basically a support cast who was signed to ultimately help the lead driver. He did that in 2006 with Michael Schumacher. Then in 2007, he did the same thing with Kimi Raikkonen and basically sacrificed his own home race win in Brazil to help Kimi win the title. A driver like Felipe Massa, who arguably did not have the the raw talent of a Kimi Raikkonen or a Fernando Alonso or a Lewis Hamilton was basically the fourth wheel in the championship battle in 2007. That is arguably why the 2008 World Championship is a crucial season for Felipe Massa's career, because that was the season where Felipe maxed out. He won the most races that season. He almost beat arguably the greatest talent to drive in Formula 1, and he did that in a similarly paced car. And at the end of the day, when he lost the World Championship, he was as graceful as one could be, especially if you keep in mind the kind of circumstances that were there. He basically lost the World Championship on the last corner of the last lap. And even then, he was gracious and he did not say anything untoward toward anyone. Nothing, not even a single word. That is why 15 years later, when it is discovered by Felipe Massa that what happened in 2008 was not justice, was not the right way of going about things, he is outraged. Why he is outraged is because his entire career's legacy got ruined because the F1 and the FIA did not do the right thing. Today, in 2023, Felipe Massa could have been the last Brazilian world champion since Ayrton Senna in 1991. He could have been the last Ferrari world champion in 15 years. These are not small things. These are prestigious accomplishments, and these are something that he should have ultimately achieved. And it would have been his if Bernie Ecclestone, Max Mosley, and Charlie Whiting had done their job. At the end of the day, they didn't. And that is why Felipe Massa is today considered a strong driver, but is not considered a former world champion. For a young driver coming from a place like Brazil, a place where there have been only 3 world champions, this would have been a major accomplishment. And this was something that drove him throughout his career. But this was stolen from him because Bernie Ecclestone, Max Mosley, and Charlie Whiting did not do their job. Now, this is why Felipe Massa has gone ahead with legal proceedings. And unfortunately, this is something that none of the F1 journalists or pundits will cover. Why Felipe Massa has gone ahead with legal proceedings. That is a point of view that will ultimately drown in all the abuses and insults thrown towards the Brazilian in the next few days. However, this video, at least from my point of view, is me doing my bit to spread the word of why Felipe Massa has gone ahead with legal proceedings. I hope you guys like the video. I hope you finally understand why Felipe Massa has gone ahead and taken the step that he has done right now. So yes, these were my views, and this is me trying to shed a light that will be missed predictably by all the media. So yes, do let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.